Albums of the year 2009. We're not going to run through a top 20 because we don't want to spoil it. So you picked a few of the year. Let's start with one of the newer bands who've really broken through this year, Five Finger Death Punch. War is the Answer.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, 2009 has been completely overrun by some truly fantastic releases across a gigantic genre of music. This is the thing. It's not just the power of the music, but it's also the great diversity of what's coming out right now. And Five Finger are just absolutely tuneful. Everyone knows that they're absolutely brilliant live. They pretty much just blew our balls off on Defense of Faith early in the year. And, of course, they got a huge groundswell of support. When the record came out, we were all just pretty blown away just by how melodic it was, how heavy it was, and just how well Ivan can sing. I mean, that is an incredibly catchy record.
So you think that's one of their strongest points? They've absolutely they've given us the perfect record for those people who always want something heavy, but for those people who also need songs.
Well, I think it's great for people who like singers who can really sing. I mean, I think that metal has gone in a really interesting direction over the last few years, where there's a lot of kind of throat-ripping brutality and that sort of thing going on. And it's kind of made the idea of a heavy metal singer getting up on stage and actually belting out a tune kind of like a novel thing. That, of course, that's not a new thing. That's something we learned from the almighty Dio. It's one of the most classic sorts of things. But as an art form, as a means of expression, really, really being able to carry a note hasn't been so popular. So it's kind of cool to be seeing that making a comeback.
Totally. Now, you have to give me a bit of an intro on this. Astra, so one of the more obscure entries. You're actually rated quite highly on a lot of people's
absolutely.
top tens.
Well, I mean, for people who don't know, Rise Above Records are pretty much the gourmet choice of prog and heavy music, and of course, curated by none other than Lee Dorian from Cathedral and Napalm Death. It's a very interesting label, small, but absolutely essential to pay attention to. And of course, Astra are just like the jewel in the crown from them this year. It's kind of like a weird sort of psychedelic heaviness that comes out of San Diego, and it's very, very unique, but I recommend everyone listen to it because it's very, very ethereal. It's kind of good candlelight music in a way because it's definitely a bit trippy.
What do you think it is that gives them that kind of wide appeal? That all of our diverse tastes in the office and of our freelancers, they are kind of like what I call office glue.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I think it's the fact that they've captured so many people's imagination. I think that when a band is that hard to classify, it's very difficult to kind of have a preconception about them. That means probably the most people have been open to listening to something like Astra simply because they haven't been turned off because it's sort of dropped into a genre which might have turned some people away otherwise.
In fact, not unlike Steel Panther, who are appearing more divisive, I suppose, than we even thought that they might.
You can't be on the fence about Steel Panther. on sheer replay value alone, Steel Panther are absolutely one of the albums of the year for 2009. I mean, those guys are absolutely hilarious. If you've seen their live show, it's stand-up comedy. But you can't deny their incredible musicianship. I mean, they do know how to write a tune. And of course, every single song on that record, Feel the Steel is called, basically references just some of my favorite bands from the 80s and 90s. And so, of course, it's kind of hard to dislike them. I think if you take it the spirit's intended, it's impossible not to be really excited about them. But some people, I don't think they really get where they're coming from. They don't really see the satire or the musicianship, and it just turns people off. It's been interesting to see the reactions.
Do you think it's I think it might be an age thing. You know what I mean? Like if you didn't grow up with Spinal Tap or at the tail end of hair metal from the seeing the grunge kind of killing it off.
Yeah.
If you grew up with nu metal as your kind of your entry point, maybe it's.
Well, I think that's an interesting question, but I would probably disagree simply because I was like 5 or 6 years old when Spinal Tap came out. I did not grow up with the music at that stage. I discovered it much later. It was when Megadeth were putting out Rest in Peace that I started to first discover music. It was Iron Maiden, Seventh Son of a Seventh Son, not Killers, that got me into it. And so I think it's more about whether people kind of see the humor in heavy metal. I mean, the thing is that some people, I think, can take themselves a little bit too seriously. I mean, I absolutely live this music, and I'm the first person to be making fun of myself and just kind of poking fun at just some of the excesses of the genre. That's something that makes it so fun, and I think that it's a part of our nature and part of our community to be slightly self-effacing, and that's what Steel Panther are. They poke fun and have fun with the genre that is just sort of right for the picking, and that's it. It's not disrespectful. They wouldn't be able to play that well if they didn't love the music more than anyone.
Now, I've kind of been waiting for for 18 years for something like this to sort of to come along. it strikes me as funny that all of these sort of, younger bands who want to sound like Slaughter and Dokken and Bon Jovi and Guns N' Roses, none of them have actually nailed it quite like this band, and this band are a parody band.
Yeah.
That's quite a statement.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Well, I mean, this is the thing. It's like they kind of hit the nail on the head. It's just like they understand the music inside and out. They know precisely what they're doing. And of course, they're not constrained by having to sound original. In fact, They go out of their way to be deliberate in what they are referencing in their music. And so I think that makes it a lot easier for them. But it is impeccable musicianship and songwriting in that record. It's funny as hell, but it's also really good too.
Now, Devil Driver, again, is one of those albums that's got a lot of love this year. Was it for you? For me, it was kind of a breakthrough for me in Devil Driver. Were you sort of there with Devil Driver? Was this the breakthrough record?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Well, I thought it was going to happen inevitably, regardless of the record, simply because there's such a groundswell of support in the live circuit. They did those 2 garage dates in London that were utterly sold out, where they laid waste to the thing. But they also had that gigantic Circle Pit at Download. I mean, it's just like they have such a grassroots level of support and love, because Dez is such a compelling frontman, and there's such a incredibly tight live proposition that I kind of think whatever happened on the record, as long as they didn't go prog, they were going to pretty much nail it. But the fact is that it's a really, really heavy record. It's hard not to get pumped when you listen to that.
It's actually not dissimilar in some ways to the Five Finger Death Punch, that he's brought those massive hooks without taking an ounce off the heaviness.
Oh, I would
certainly agree with that. It's got like kind of anthemic stomp in there too.
Yeah, completely. I mean, there is a hookiness there. It's not sheer brutality. I mean, it's of course, just like Cannibal Corpse have a warm place in my heart and so on. But there's something about Devil Driver's kind of approach to that kind of shredding that's really interesting and just great to listen to.
And also such a triumph for someone who was kind of vilified. When you come from Coal Chamber to try and rebuild your career.
Yeah.
And Dez has kind of managed it.
Oh, I think that's absolute ancient history now. I mean, the fact is that he's absolutely earned his stripes as a front man. And I mean, let's be honest and fair to him. I mean, Devil Driver have been around for years now. This is not a new thing. It's not as if he's suddenly come out of the woodwork and said, oh, I'm in this new band, I'm this new person. He's absolutely paid his dues. I saw Devil Driver's first show at the Underworld in, I think, 2003, and it was not a full house. People didn't know who Devil Driver were, but Dez came out and absolutely owned it, and he absolutely deserves to be where he is right now.
Awesome. Yeah, that was Pray for Villains, Devil Driver. Slayer's Well-Painted Blood. I see that's in your top 20.
Well, you can't argue with Slayer. I mean, it's just like, it's Slayer. That's not just a band, that's a culture. It's a, in terms of like a reference point for heavy metal, I can't think of a band that's like a better beacon of hope and metaldom than them. So every time a band, like that comes out with a record, you're going to listen to it and all that, and this one absolutely owns.
And also, Slayer kind of earned the right to not have to keep changing.
Yeah.
So
well, I mean, that's interesting, because I think of the big four, Slayer, I think you rightly say, have probably deviated the least from their original approach to music. Slayer sound the most like Slayer of yore than any other band in the big four right now. I mean, Anthrax, they did a bit of a diversion with We Come For You All, a terrific one, if you ask me. Megadeth has certainly evolved, I think, very largely on account of like lineup changes and the way that Dave Mustaine writes. And of course, Metallica, have undergone like several transformations, but Slayer are still Slayer of yore, and they still absolutely rule.
Megadeth, one of the albums of the year. I mean, really, again,
Completely.
This is absolutely across the board.
Oh, no. I mean, I don't think that we would be a metal magazine if we weren't all unanimous in just how awesome Endgame is. I mean, Megadeth are Dave Mustaine, but that's a huge compliment of amazing musicians who are in that band as well. And of course, it would be impossible not to credit that album and how cool it is. Without really acknowledging just how terrific Andy Sneap's production is on the record. The lead guitars, everything just slays. It's not like, oh, this is a good Megadeth record for the latter part of his career or anything like that. It's just an awesome Megadeth record, and I will go to the mat arguing with anyone that it stands up next to its classics. I mean, absolutely phenomenal guitar work and everything. It's just got songs.
Did you expect this?
Oh, no way.
At this stage in his career?
No way. I mean, with United Abominations, I thought it would have been hard for anyone to kind of raise the bar on that, especially, and this is the thing, though, it sounds like, oh, that stage in his career. I mean, if anyone went and saw Megadeth playing with Judas Priest, just on that tour earlier in the year or anything else like that, they know that they can still absolutely dominate. It's just like Dave Mustaine has total command of the stage, and also in the studio, apparently, because he just came out with this record that's huge. I just can't wait to hear the next one.